but
delirious.
delirious, just screaming
Yeah.
and it was, I think it was our hardest night with him. Yeah.
And inviting.
Well, who doesn't want to go to a fancy ass like event, get flown across the Welcome to episode number 10.
10, we're in double digits, baby.
I know, so exciting.
Yes.
So exciting.
Yes.
It is the first day of fall, which is
So the equinox is technically on the 23rd.
what? I thought the first day of fall was September 21st.
I think it shifts just slightly. But I confirmed this morning that on the 23rd, which is Saturday,
Okay.
is officially the equinox, the fall
Wah,
equinox.
wah, wah.
But I agree.
I could be wrong.
The 21st is always the day where I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's fall. Whatever. It's fall today. In our world, it's fall. Y'all are watching this after Saturday. Maybe. Probably.
Yeah.
Potentially.
So the fall equinox is also the Libra equinox because it goes from Virgo season to Libra season. So, excuse me, that's another way to kind of tell.
Okay.
Yeah. My, because some people have birthday on the cusps, and then like it's so interesting to have a cusp birthday, so.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into it, but.
Okay. It's a different podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe. Well, I'm dressed fancy because I'm going into the city for work today. So.
I'm dressed cozy because.
It's the first day of fall.
My body is like, it's fall.
It's the first day of fall.
And I need a sweater.
That's right.
I literally took this out of one of those like sealed storage bags we have, like the vacuum sealed ones.
Oh, really? Oh, you grabbed it?
Yeah,
nice.
So I was like, I need something cozy.
So bring the mic closer to you.
Yeah,
I had
it's
a
little
really
awkward right now.
Well,
right?
bring it up higher, yeah. Like
Okay.
really talk into the
better?
mic. Yeah, that's better. I don't want to see your lips when I talk to you.
Yeah.
Cuz then I know you're too far away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I only I see mine's like the last edit I did was so quick.
Mm-hmm.
Purely because our mics finally worked well. So I'm a little bit of like aggressive on the mics, but it's just because I want to make my life and job early.
Technical, which is so necessary because if I was responsible, we wouldn't have a podcast at all. So thank you, Aydian.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But yeah, so fall is here. Jaylee's got rocking the socks. I am still sockless. I prefer to be sockless at all opportunities until it's really too cold. But we have snacks today.
We have, speaking of cozy, we have banana bread toasted with butter.
Yes.
And we have.
I do not have. I drank mine already.
Yeah, he drank his pretty fast. But we have bulletproof coffee, which is our favorite coffee.
Yes.
Our favorite because it's a clean coffee, a very intentionally clean, no toxin coffee. And they have a lot of awesome products. So
you can
cheers.
use
Invisible cheers.
Don't we have a code?
We do have a code. We'll drop it in the show notes.
Use our code. What is it though? Say it out loud. Is it like your name or something?
So it's Dowling's is in the link, but we're gonna drop it below.
We need to know the code, girl. We aren't like just in the future.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure out that code.
Yeah.
We really like it though. I mean,
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, we have I like it because they have one that has nootropics in it, which is like different mushrooms and different blends of herbs, which is awesome. I love that. Like
High Achiever.
Yeah, High Achiever.
Yeah, that's our favorite one.
You just got the pumpkin spice creamer,
and it's super good. It's not very sweet. So if you're like, oh, I need a lot of sweet in my coffee, it's definitely not sweet. But I've been personally working on not having a lot of sugar in the morning because I used to be like, in the morning, I have a lot of sugar and it just was never a good look for me and the way I started the day, and I would have all these crashes. And so, by the afternoon. So I'm doing really well not having sugary coffee in the morning and sugary things. This banana bread's made with honey. So that's awesome. So we're working on it. I mean, don't get me wrong. We love our sugar and there's a time and place for it. But the mornings for me, not good.
We're sweeters, like sweets.
We love sweet things.
We've taught Antler to love sweets. It's a problem.
Yes.
It's a big problem. We're trying to mitigate the issue that I can see in the future. But
yes,
I feel like I'm going to go to like, if he goes to college or like his first apartment, and it's just going to be like snacks and candy. And it's
that's the nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're trying to reel that in a little bit. You know what I mean?
He's a super picky eater, like super duper. We can't even get this kid to eat grilled cheese.
First of all, we're going to stop saying he's a picky eater.
Okay.
I think that's our first thing.
Yeah.
He is particular in what he chooses to eat right now, and we're hoping that will be expanded into the future.
Yes.
That's the goal.
But
we eat a lot of different types of food, different types of like cuisines. Thank you. So we're hoping that he'll get into it.
Yes. Yeah. And I find myself I mean, it's one thing that you don't want to eat vegetables. Like that's like a normal kid thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like judging him hardcore that he won't eat grilled cheese.
Yeah. He doesn't even like, doesn't like grilled cheese. He doesn't like chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Like any kind of like
French fries.
Food that like kids eat, right? Like, or like that is on a kid's menu.
He doesn't eat.
Typically he's like, no thanks.
Even hamburgers. Like we have to really fight him to eat a hamburger.
Yeah.
And then I don't like the hot dogs that like most people eat, because they're not like all beef. They have nitrates and all this other crapola in them, and he won't eat those either. But
yeah, we could have a whole episode based on our food journey, because we've been on a food journey.
That's true.
A serious food journey.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like a cue here, which is like the video, leave a comment, subscribe.
Yes.
And
all those things.
I think that like one thing that we want people to understand with this podcast is that we don't want it to just be a couples podcast. Mm-hmm. It's not just about relationships as far as with your significant other or your partner, right? Or your partner. It's like, it's also relationships with your family members. It's relationships with yourself. So like with food, with social media, with with working out and fitness, and like these are all journeys that we have been on, and like we haven't gone on every journey, right? But in general, like even myself with I'll say substance, but like with marijuana, right? Like there's different, when you work on relationship with one other person and with yourself, you know, there's all these different facets of skills that you learn, and those skills can be attributed to every relationship that you have, right? Like even when last week's episode with like the top 5 communication, like every single one of those could be about yourself. Like when we talked about tone, it's like, how are you talking to yourself?
Yes.
What's your tone of yourself? You trying to have a conversation with yourself. It's like, is now really the most appropriate time when you are mostly triggered, when you are like to really have a conversation with yourself? Like perfectionism, right? So there's all of these skills in the toolbox that can be applied to so many different facets of our lives.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of the times our relationship with people is similar to our relationship with like something else, like food or substance or, you know, whatever. So like, yeah, I like that broadening what this is. It is a podcast about relationships, relationship with child, relationship with your family of origin, relationship with food, relationship with your work life. Like just like relationships in general are a thing that we all are dealing with. And we have just decided that we're doing this thing together, and we're starting to talk about it because we've done a lot of it together at this point after 14 years. So
we keep saying 14, but technically it's 13.
Right, because 14 will be this coming January. So we're doing
I feel like we should reel it back.
We're doing the skip ahead thing, which I feel like I learned from my father. My father always like told people he was like the year older than he actually was, because he was, you know, whatever, 3 months into the year. Excuse me. So I am naming that I am doing that.
Yeah. So it's 13 years, but 14 in January. But overall, it's a long time, especially I think in today's world. I mean, I don't really know any other day's world, so I guess that's just a phrase I've picked up. But I think that a lot of people I see are not necessarily together for this long. I think it's also we're getting older, and like the friends we're making are sometimes older than us, sometimes younger than us. And so I think we're in that middle age of life where it's like some people we're friends with are like 26 and they're like, wow, 14 years. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And plus, we do look a little younger than we are. So there's that. And, we tend to trick people, especially, with Aydian being trans, like, from my experience, like trans people definitely tend to look a little younger than they are.
It's fountain of youth, baby.
Because, the hormones and everything. And so, but for me, like, I just have clearly my own secret.
Clearly. You are the fountain of youth.
Yes, I am the fountain of youth, if anybody was
That's
wondering.
why I look young.
I can look it up on Google.
Drinking you up, girl. Sipping you up like a glass of fine wine.
Yes.
Right? That's what they say.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. So, now that it's fall, things are happening. We are getting a loaded time on our plate here. We're getting a lot of things coming up. I'm traveling next month. We've got Antler's birthday next month. We've got, well, technically it's the November 1st, but we're doing the party in October.
We are skipping ahead, right?
Yeah, we've got Halloween, but just in general, like the season has changed.
His birthday starts on Halloween because I was in labor on Halloween. So I always think like it's Halloween.
It's the birthday. Yeah, exactly. But this last week, over the weekend, we had the worst night with Antler we've ever had. He got a rash on his hand and was itching and itching and itching. And he was just in like late night, totally in his own world, asleep but awake, delirious, just screaming and I think it was our hardest night with him, to be honest. I mean, if putting aside the first like year, it was his hardest night of him being like a coherent human being. And it was really tough, and we thought we were going to have to cancel our whole trip to Pennsylvania, which I think we shared already, like, and so it was just, oh my gosh. Yeah. It was so much.
And I mean, I'll speak for myself because sometimes we have different opinions on this, but I think we did a good job taking turns, like, supporting him that night.
Are you looking for me to, like, to say you did such a great job?
That I was intentionally trying not to fall into a deep sleep because I knew that I was like,
you were on call.
Yes. And so,
well, the dilemma that I will say is that when it comes to Antler's sleep, he wants me. At nighttime, he's true. Daddy's, but in the morning, he's all mama. Like this morning, I came in and was like, "Hey, bud," and he was like, "Go away." No, go away. Like, I'm just like, okay. He doesn't like me in the morning, but he likes me at nighttime.
Yeah.
But we went to Pennsylvania and we learned what it was to live in a small town. Like one stoplight town. There's one stoplight in that whole town.
And we did visit on a weekend that there was a
fair
happening.
Yeah, a festival. So I think we saw every single person who lived in that town.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was such a cute town.
Yeah. I don't know if we should say where it was, though, just for the sake of
no, we don't have to.
Family
but
and stuff.
Just in general, it was
a small town in western Pennsylvania. Because Jaylee and I have been thinking about where we want our future to be. And where do we want to settle down?
Taking it slow.
Where do we want that to be? Where do we want to, buy a house and put roots in the ground, as they say, which is something we've tried many times and have had to rip the roots out of the ground or cut them.
Right. That we've gotten many redirections from the universe.
Yeah.
Literally, like we were about to buy a house and we thought we were about to move into it.
72 hours before the moving truck was coming, or rather I was going to get the moving truck. They pulled out.
Yeah, and so but at the same time, right? It's like I feel like we've been very protected and guided because like we weren't supposed to live in that area. I ended up having severe allergies in that area.
Yeah, that was in Austin, Texas.
And so it was like a godsend that we didn't buy that house. But like, so yeah, I trust that like, you know, our time is going to come at the right time and that we just haven't found. I like when I think of us, babe, I think of us like, you know, the Dr. Seuss book, like, Are You My Mother? Like, I feel like for us, it's like,
that was one of my favorite books.
Are you my home?
Yeah, we've done that everywhere.
Like together,
went to
like all of these 13 years, like we've just been going around like, are you my home?
Are you where we live? We were in Florida. We were like, are you my home? And then we went to New York and we said, this is not our home.
Right.
Then we went to Oregon and we were like, this is our home.
This is our home. We're never leaving.
We're never leaving. And then we left. And
6 years later, we have a kid and we're like, yep,
we're out of here.
We're not going to raise
him. Then we went
to
Texas and we were like, we're going to make this our home. Is it the perfect state? No, but we're going to do this. This is going to be our home. Pandemic hit. You had allergies.
My
Antler had allergies.
Just raged.
Yeah, I mean, it was really bad for you.
Yeah, I went into depression because I couldn't go outside.
Yes. And then we went to Florida and we were like, you know what? Florida, beautiful, sunny state, gay ass town we were living in.
Oh yeah.
This is going to be our home.
Wow. Yeah.
But then all of the terrible laws started happening. You know, I took a big leap of faith with my company Trace, and although it's still up and running, which is awesome, I had to step down from like actually having that be like our sense of income and go get a job. And so we just couldn't live there anymore, really. And so that's why we came up here. And I mean, like, we live with my mom, like, full transparency, you know, like, yes, we pay.
And this is where we were living when he said we went to New York and said, this isn't
it. Yeah.
So we're here. We're back where that was.
Yeah.
And it does feel different than
it does
it did
feel
then.
Different.
Like then I was like,
because we have a kid and I think, and we were living in the basement then. Now we're living on the top floor. It's like a 2-story house with a basement. So we're living on the second story of the house, and we're paying a form of rent, and you know what I mean? Like, so we're contributing in ways that we weren't then. And I think that helps also. But all this to say that like, we had to leave all of these different places because we've just been trying to find our home. And so we're exploring now because we know that now is just not the right time to buy a house. Maybe next year, maybe the following year, we're kind of seeing what the market does. But we're exploring. We're like, do we want to live in Pennsylvania? Do we want to live in, maybe Massachusetts, maybe New Jersey, maybe, I don't know if I really want to live here. The taxes are so crazy on Long Island.
Yeah.
But all of it's like we're just kind of lost, and
in that way, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like we both acknowledge like we're each other's home. Like,
right.
We've always been each other's home, and like that feels really like heartwarming and like.
Yeah, it's cute. It's like a nice little slogan.
Right.
But it's like, but where do we actually live?
Right.
Like, where can I, like,
where can we get comfortable?
Where can I put a bookshelf?
Where can we let our hair down? Like where can we really, really start to put down roots and feel like, like this is it. Like I can really get acclimated.
Right. Exactly. And, I think that.
And for Antler's sake too, we want him to be able to have that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like, so when I think about like the glue, because Jane Lee loves the glue, sticky. I think that like, what you just said, like we have always been the glue when it comes to all of this, like not knowing what's going on. Like we know a lot, and we've done a lot of work on who we are as individuals, like what our offering to the world is, like what our values are. We've worked through all of these traumas that we've had occurred to us, that we were giving trauma we were giving to other people, like, you know what I mean? And so working on all of these things, and this is still something that we are not really perfected at, not, you know what I mean by that word. I use that word lightly. And I feel like in all of that, and I'm sure that people can relate, like I'm sure that there's parts of your life that feel like have forever been changing, and once you think you're settled, it's not, whether that's your job or your partner or where your life path, or maybe your moving situation, you know what I mean? Like or maybe ups and downs that you've had like with friends or family members, like you feel like you're in a good place and then you're not. And I think that we have been lucky enough to have each other as the glue through all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's also some of where, because I think it's like, some of that pressure, pressure makes a diamond, like I think that's where some of our tightness has come from, is like we've been through so many things together that it feels like we want to finish it out, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like we don't want to not keep going.
Right. Yeah, it's like the one thing we haven't experienced together is that kind of stability.
Right. Yeah.
And
and that's to be another chapter.
The process of trying has created a new level of emotional stability for us as a couple and as a family. Like we have grown so much and gotten so much closer, I think, because of all of the trials and tribulations with our trying to find our home.
I feel like it's been both. It's pulled us apart and brought us together, like rubber band.
Right.
Like when we were pulled apart, the tension was really strong, but then it's brought us back. And like kind of just continuously doing that.
Right. The glue, like always having to like glue and glue and glue and glue.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how we got on this topic, but we were our trip to Pennsylvania.
No, yeah.
How'd you think about living in a small town?
So I thought it was a really cute town with,
there's always something when Jane Lee starts something with so.
I thought it was a really cute town, and it had a lot of what I love, right?
It was super cute.
There was even, a shop there that I could offer readings at, and there, I got a 2024 astrology calendar there that I'm excited about.
I found it.
And actually a new pendulum, which I haven't bought in a while.
That pendulum was very masculine, by the way.
Well, it's calling me forward. I've been working on my masculine energy for a long time. So
you have. Yep.
Calling me forward. So yeah, it had it's like I could picture us there. And I mean, they had an LGBT center.
Yeah, it was really cute.
We got to go there, and the person that runs it, shout out to Taylor.
Yes.
He was so cool and so amazing, and like running youth groups, and like this is the only LGBT center, I think he said, in like 500 miles.
Yeah,
or
something like that.
Like in a pretty wide distance.
Right.
In this small town. So I was like really impressed by that. I thought that was incredible.
Yes.
And yeah, they're just doing some really important work there. And so yeah, I could picture us there.
Shout out to, well, no, wait, we shouldn't say it, right? I was just trying not to say the town.
Okay.
I don't know why. It just felt like, I just want to, it feels like a protective to not share the town.
That's fine.
I don't know. Maybe that's incorrect. It's what I'm feeling in this moment.
It's whatever you feel. I mean, Aydian has strong feelings that are usually true. So
yeah, I don't know. Just feels.
But just in general, I liked the town. I could picture us there, and we have gotten so used to having access to a lot here, or just
everywhere
we've lived has been more of like a centralized city,
right?
And we've lived on like,
I should be real, Target has never been more than 14 minutes away,
right,
from any place we've ever lived,
right?
Just for context.
Yeah.
Or a Whole Foods, a Target, a Planet Fitness, like.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel undecided about, all of that. I think there's a part of me that loves the idea of like knowing everyone in town,
right,
and being a part of the community in such a way that it's like we are the glue that keeps the town together, all of us, and really love that thought and that ideation.
I'd be curious, like, do you live in a small town? Like, let us know in the comments. Like, do you live in a small town? Do you live in a city? Like, where do you where do you live and why do you love to live there, or why do you think you want to move somewhere else? You know what I mean? Because we have been like debating that so hardcore, of just like, where do we want, like, we've always lived in cities or just more metropolitan areas but it's always more expensive to live there, but we've always been like, well, it feels safer. It's like, we have more access to things. But now we're like, would it actually be beneficial to just live somewhere that's a little cheaper?
Right.
Or like, wouldn't it be nice to have a backyard? Like, I mean, we walked outside of your uncle's house and it was just like silence. Like Antler would say something and it like echoed. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just very...
He lived further out. He definitely did not live in the town or anything, but...
he lived in what we would call the sticks.
Right.
That's what we would call that.
Yeah. So what was your glue this week?
My glue this week. I thought more about my glue as far as like moving and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But my glue this week, I'm trying to think, like, I didn't have any really... I had an overwhelming day yesterday, but I didn't have any really... I didn't feel like I fell apart. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I kept myself together this last week. So... my glue is that the Giants won. That was my glue. The Giants won.
They pulled it together. From a terrible, terrible... it was going to be a terrible, terrible game. So that would be my glue. Nice.
Yeah. That's football. I feel like some people might not actually know what I'm talking about. But some people are surprised to hear that I like football. Like, my director was like, now I know Aiden's a Giants fan. I'm like, well...
Well, I do think there's like a stigma that goes along with football fans.
What do you mean, bro?
I don't think that you...
what do you mean, bro?
I don't think you fit the whole stigma, and I think that's why some people are surprised.
Yeah. But I could bro out with the best of them.
Yeah.
I'm just not like a misogynistic asshole.
Right. But that is part of the stigma.
Right.
Of being a football fan.
That's true.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. There's some gentle football fans out there.
Yes.
What about you?
So my glue this week, I think of two things, which is new friends showing up for me when I really need it, and
you can have my glue this
yoga.
Week. Oh, that was a good glue too, but I was disappointed.
So, but I did yoga even before I did it with you that one night.
That's
like
right.
I've been doing yoga a few times this last week, and just like the feeling in my body afterwards, and foam rolling. Foam rolling is like sex for your muscles.
Okay.
Like foam rolling, nobody has like tried.
If you want your muscles to get off,
foam rolling is like the best kept secret. You feel so good after foam rolling and during. And like there are moments of like
pain. I always feel pain when I foam roll.
Right, but see, the similarity is still there. Like, it just is like not like a bad traumatic pain. It's more like, oh, like I'm feeling this and it's because I have a tightness here and I'm like surrendering to softening and becoming, more supple and just, I don't know. Foam rolling is so good. You have to try it. If you don't have a foam roller, get one.
Yeah, I am not going to yuck your yum.
Shout out to Hannah Corbin on Peloton app. She does the foam rolling classes that I love. And yeah, she just kind of goes by this motto of like, did you stretch though? And I've just been getting into stretching this last week, like in a way that I haven't in many years. I used to be all about yoga and like doing these sorts of things. And so like I'm finally getting back there and my body's thanking me and I'm feeling like I can actually relax. And yeah.
What about your friends?
So yeah, just like my new friends sort of like surprising me, I had some new friends come to my new moon circle, and that was amazing. And then one of them got me like a new moon mug, my coffee mug, which was a surprise and really nice. And the other one like just kind of like showed up with tea when I said I was having a hard day yesterday. We had tea on the porch together before we both had to go get our kids. And so that was really nice. So yeah, I just feel grateful that I am making some friends here and just finding support, because I think that's the hardest part of moving. It always has been for me, is like saying goodbye to friends and hoping that you can find new ones that feel in line with who you are and who you're becoming.
Yeah.
So
I like your friends. I haven't made too many friends here yet. I've got 1.5 friends.
1.5?
Yeah. Because I feel like one friend I've built a relation with and we text like, a couple of times a week. And then the other friend is like when we see each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's friendly and we have fun, but it's not necessarily like we're texting.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I know if I have a friend. It's like, do I want to text you? You know what I mean? I have many other friends who don't live here.
Because Aydian does not respond to all texts.
I'm not a good texter. Even my friends, sometimes I just don't text them back. I don't know. I'm not very... I had to create boundaries with myself because I was just like my whole life, specifically my adult life, I just always gave and was always like, I was trained, being like in the spotlight trained me to not have any boundaries with my time. Like my time wasn't mine. It was other people's time. So one thing that I kind of started to do was just not text people back. Because I also gave my phone number to anybody who asked.
Yeah,
I would meet a random person that was like, "Oh, I follow you. Can I have your phone number?" Like people would ask that. I feel like people don't ask that as much as they used to, but that used to be asked a lot.
Yeah.
I changed my phone number one time.
Yeah.
I changed my phone number because I just, not because any one person was like bothering me, but because I just was like, too many people have my number. Like too many people, one, I don't know, have my number. Two, are contacting me about work things. They have my phone number. Like I just, know. So now I don't change my number. I just don't text them back.
Yeah.
It's not like a personal thing.
Yeah, and you're definitely not. You definitely have better boundaries. Like I remember the days like we would go to like your speaking events or conferences, and you would literally stand there for like these massive lines.
Well, first two things
people and like exhaust yourself.
Well,
beyond. Go ahead.
Well, I feel like that's my job, and now I would still do that, but the boundaries would be more like I would tell people like I'm eating lunch from 1 to 2, so if you want to meet me, come back.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And I would probably have like someone go to the line and be like, that's the last person. You stand in the back. Anyone who comes up, you let them know. Yeah. But I would still be there until everyone got seen.
Right.
I think the thing that happened is COVID.
Yeah.
And there haven't been any opportunities for me to do something like that.
True.
And I also think like I'm just not as popular as I once was. You know what I mean? Like I think that I had my height. And I think it's good in the sense that like so many more trans people have the spotlight than there was back when I started. Like when I started, there was like me, like Laverne Cox, and like a few other people, and that was really it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I think that there's like a lot more people, and it's kind of like more. I mean, it could definitely be spread out more, but I think it's like, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. So if you see Aydian at an event in the future and there's a long line, bring him a coffee and a snack and tell him to go take a break.
And if there's not a long line, come say hi. The other thing, I like people. I like to meet them.
He does. It
reminds me of what I'm doing. It reminds me of why I do what I do. You You know, like comments on Instagram are great. I love comments. I love DMs, but like, you know, same thing with DMs. Like sometimes I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be rude, but I just like, you know, but if you're right in front of me, that's the most impactful to me.
Yeah.
Like that's a love language of mine.
He is like a true
giving
extrovert.
Me your time.
Like he gets energy from being in groups and meeting new people.
Right.
And
the only reason that those were long and I didn't have energy is because I like wasn't drinking water. I wasn't eating.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I can never complain.
There's I can never, line, right?
Yeah. And I can never complain. Like, you know, who doesn't like, well, I mean, I know some people don't like the spotlight, but like most people like would think it was cool. It was fun. I don't know if I'll ever have those moments again. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be at a table and just be trying to get to the bathroom that's like less than 50 yards away, and it takes me 45 minutes because I get stopped, and then I walk a few feet and I get stopped, and then I get into the bathroom and I'm stopped, and then I pee, and then I get out and someone's like, oh, I saw you go in, and then I'm washing my hand. Like, you know, I don't know if I'll ever have those moments. So they were, you know, they were only hard at the end of the day when I was like, I'm so tired. And everyone's like, let's go hang out, let's dance. And I'm like, I can do nothing. Or when I'm going to bed. I'm smoking a bowl and I'm going to bed.
Or when I, as your wife, was nervous you might pass out from exhaustion.
Yeah, but I never got that far. I never like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I used to have to like duck behind stuff to eat.
Yeah.
You know, so. But that was fun. Like it's a good memory to look back and think that like I was impactful enough that people who came to this conference stood in line for maybe 20 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. And wanted to take a picture with me and wanted to support whatever I was doing at the time, whether it was 0.5cc or Point of Pride, you know? Yeah. So, totally. I mean, I get what you're saying, but that's how I like developed the, you know, started to learn how to get those boundaries, because it was like, oh, you know what? Actually, like, my time is still my time and our time is our time. And you know what I mean? Like, I can have time where I'm giving of time of me, and I can have time where I'm not. Right. It's definitely a unique experience that not that many people can relate to on a real deep level. And I can only imagine if I was like more famous, like if I like really like took off. But I think I sometimes regret I think my FOMO makes me regret, but like I think I chose to not take off, like climb up the ladder, because I think that it was going to lead me in a really bad place. I don't know if we would, to be honest, things I think would happen is like I think I would have developed a more intense eating disorder, and I don't know if we would have been together, because I think I would have chose opportunity over us, because it was, you're always trying to get more popular or invited to that thing or win that award, or you know what I mean, like get that producer to look at you, or that magazine to want you, or make that amount of money. Oh, you heard this person made that much money. Well, you want to make more than that, you know? So I think that I would have just gotten wrapped up in that world, and that my worth was dictated based on how much other people wanted me. And I feel like that would have probably went before us, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just because we were young in our relationship, and a lot of times you were pulling the opposite way. You are like had started your healing journey and was really pulling the opposite way. Yeah. You know, and I was just like, I want to do more. No one understands me. You know what I mean? So, I mean, maybe we would have been great. Like, I'm not saying I wouldn't have tried. I'm just saying there was a higher chance of us not making it through.
We definitely both had to choose healing in order to stay together.
And you might have gotten sucked into it in some ways too, because I think that there's a energy, healing, yogi, spiritual side that's really Hollywood and toxic too.
Oh, for
that
sure.
You could have easily slipped into if you were in that arena. Or on the outskirts of that arena, you know what I mean? So I think that, you know, it could have just been really not good. Yeah. Especially the way I was going, because the way I was going was about my body. And I see and know people that are still in that arena, and it's just so clear to me that they really have learned that their body is their worth, and that they are in, like, I can feel their insecurities through the phone, because of that. And I have compassion.
Yeah.
I feel bad. Not like not pity. I don't know that it's not like a bad feeling of bad.
Well, because you're acknowledging that you were headed down that road and pivoted, you can sense more than most people what
it would be,
or what it, there's a reason you pivoted. You had a sense of like where you were headed.
Yeah, like sometimes I regret that pivot though, I think, because I think about what I could have had.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantee in that either.
Yep. No.
And like, so it's definitely, it's a hard path either way. Like I'm not envious of any like trans influencers, trans celebrities. Is not easy. It is exhausting.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of perks. I mean, you get you get to go to cool red carpets, and like you don't have to pay for a lot of stuff. Like a lot of things you don't have to pay for. Like at one point we weren't paying, like a majority of the food we were eating, you and I were not paying for. Not because we were going to restaurants, but because like we were getting sponsored.
Yeah,
and
you just get stuff in the mail.
Like a lot of the cool techie stuff I was getting was because I was like going to VidCon, and you get this huge box of like, I remember I got like a new phone, like a Samsung, like whatever Pixel something, and I was just like, wow, I didn't even know what to do with it. One of our first Rokus we have is because I went to an event. You get flown places, like there's definitely a lot of perks.
It's like enticing.
Yeah.
And inviting.
Well, who doesn't want to go to a fancy ass like event, get flown across the country? You go to the event, you get free shit, you smile on a red carpet, you get to post about it and look really cool online because people are like, wow, he's in New York City and look at that famous person and they're on a red carpet, and this big company brought them in, and then you go to the after party and it's at like the top floor of some swanky ass hotel, and like it's VIP only, or you get in the VIP section where there's free alcohol. Like, there's just so many perks. And I'm not, I didn't live that life for that long. It was a few years. But yeah, it was just, it was just different.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, ugh, and then you get privileged because then you're just like, why wasn't I invited to that? You're like, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't know me? What do you mean? And it's not like in a rude way. It's not like what you see on TV where people are like, do you know who I am? It's not like you actually say those words. It's just you think internally. You're like scrolling through your phone. You see other people at other things, and you're like, why wouldn't they want me to be there? What do you think? Am I not good enough? Am I not getting enough views? Am I not getting enough this? Do I not have enough followers? You know what I mean? You start to like question your own worth because this one company didn't invite you and they invited 4 other people, You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And you just start to like go down this rabbit hole of just like, oh my gosh, who am I? Nobody likes me. I'm not relevant anymore. So yeah, so like it's a lot. We've gotten to no questions. I'm so sorry. I feel like I've bogarted.
No. I mean, every episode is what it's meant to be. But I feel like on the track that you're on and you like talking about your career.
Yeah.
The new question that we did get, that was targeted towards me and my career.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just answer that one and then we can wrap up.
I don't know. Do what you want. Yeah.
Okay.
Answer it up. Maybe is there another short one?
Possibly.
It's okay. Yeah. Do that question, and
Okay. So, the question is, Jenny Lee, I have recently started an MSW program, and it is intimidating yet exciting being back in school. I've worked in schools and currently work at a youth residential treatment center. I am thinking about potentially working with youth and or people within the LGBTQ plus community after graduation. But there is so much you can do with a social work degree. My question is, how did you decide on what you wanted to do after graduating with your social work degree / find your niche? And do you have any words of wisdom for a future social worker? So MSW is Master's in Social Work, and I got my Master's in Social Work back in 2010. And it was actually, I graduated the same year that we got together. And Aydian made me an awesome graduation cake.
That's right. And I went to your graduation.
Yes. Yeah. And it was a crossroads moment for me, for sure, that year. So much ending and beginning at the same time. And you have to do internships in your social work, within your the process of getting your degree. And so I had chosen to do an internship with LGBTQ youth, like an agency in Miami that was targeted towards supporting LGBTQ youth. And then I did one at a domestic violence shelter, supporting domestic violence survivors and women that were in the same cycles. And the other one I did was actually at a traumatic brain injury facility, which was very interesting as well. And so I was dabbling in a lot of different things, and I had a lot of different interests. I was definitely drawn to the elderly as well. And so my first job out of my MSW degree was with the elderly. I actually got hired as a director right out of school, a director of social services at a skilled nursing facility.
Jaylee loves a cute little old lady.
Yeah.
She loves them.
Yeah. Yeah. We it was a lot of fun. I remember like they would have dances and events, and like I would invite you, and like all of the old ladies like would like hit on Aydian and like want to dance with him, and like it was so cute. Anyways, I was there.
I might have danced with one or two.
Yeah. I was there for 2 years, and I really think I was hired because the director saw my passion. Because when you're fresh out of school, you've got energy, you're ready to do this, you're finally graduated, but be weary of that passion being taken advantage of. I do feel like I was handed more and more and more and more responsibility the further I got into that job, especially after the first year. And I got burnt out and fatigued really fast. And I was working with the elderly, and I was working with families of the dying, essentially. And I had lost my dad that same year that I was hired, actually right before I was hired. And so it was a lot for me personally. I think I would recommend identifying where your personal emotional triggers are, and where you're still working to heal, and maybe choose not to work within that population just yet until you go and do some more of your own healing. Granted, I was in bereavement therapy. I was going, to therapy every week. I was even doing group bereavement therapy. But it still was just too close for comfort. It was too close to home, literally seeing these residents dying and their families being distraught, and me actually running a grief support group for families. And so it was too much at that time. I did do it for the 2 years, and I got a lot of great experience, and actually made some lasting friends there. But, from there, I ended up, I quit that job because I decided it was too much. I had a lot of trouble finding a different type of job within that area because we were living in a largely retirement-based area. So there was so many of those jobs available, and I just had decided I can't do that right now. And so I went we actually moved here to New York, and I got what I at that time was like, this is my dream job. It was at the LGBTQ youth center. I was, you know, basically like a not a youth advisor, but I was running the youth programs, and I was going to speak at all of the schools in both counties of Long Island about bullying within LGBTQ youth, and I was speaking about, excuse me, the importance of creating GSAs within these schools, Gay Straight Alliance. And so it was really great work, and I was pretty good at it for a while. And eventually, there was some things that I wasn't really in agreement about with the directors there. And so I ended up leaving that job after 2 years. And from there, we went to Oregon, and I worked with at an eating disorder treatment center, and I was a therapist there. And a lot of my own personal issues with food had surfaced there, and I really went deep into my own healing within that, and I was hyper aware of what those issues looked like. And it was at the same time when Aydian was starting to struggle with, his eating disorder. And so it was just this very intense healing time for me. And I didn't last very long at that job. I was only there for like under a year. And that being let go from that job after moving to Oregon for it really catapulted me into like a massive healing. Like I went, like after I got let go from that job, I went on to study energy medicine. I took my first classes in spiritual response technique, still my favorite healing technique, with pendulums and charts, and figuring out what our past programming is and what's holding us back from reaching our potential in our different areas. And so I had met with a therapist. I was in therapy, and my therapist at the time offered to do this work with me, the spiritual response technique. And I fell in love with it. I made more personal healing progress within the first few months of working with her with the technique than I had in like all the years of traditional therapy I had tried. So I had this breakthrough of, I get to be myself within this healing. Like I can do therapy in this way. And every other job I had, I felt like I could only go so far, and I was limited because there was a spiritual component hiding behind every client that I saw in all of those different populations. And so it was really the best thing that had ever happened to me, was like moving there, being fired, and then learning this technique that I still use today with clients and is massively transformational. So I guess ultimately what I'm saying, or the advice that I'm giving you, is really question what you're being told to do and the methods that you're being told to use. And if you feel like something would work better, or something's missing, or, be courageous enough to have those conversations with your directors, and just know that if you're not a good fit somewhere, there's a reason for that. Like we are meant to fit perfectly into our work, and there is space for all of us to be doing our authentic work. And my authentic work really was owning this spiritual component of therapy, and addressing the spiritual body and the soul in a way that a lot of the traditional therapy that I was taught in school and within these agency settings, it wasn't available to me. I wasn't able to go there, and I was told no. And so ultimately, figuring out what your niche is literally dabbling, trying, following your passion, and not taking no for an answer. If you feel, and sometimes, you stay somewhere because it's a smart financial decision, right? Or, like you want to make sure that you have a net to catch you when you leave this position. I wasn't always the best at doing that. I'm a leap of faith kind of person. And so I'm learning to be more grounded and recognizing, what's the smart decision, and how can I, make that decision while also reaching for my dreams and reaching higher. So I recommend doing that, right? I recommend reaching for your dreams while also, being grounded and knowing like there's a very unique spot within this world of helping other people, this world of social work, because I had gotten into it because it's a broad field. It was recommended to me because it's so broad. You can do so much with it. And you can. And I have been breaking the rules of that, since day one. And I had to have like my wrists slapped many times by many directors. And it's really why I don't love working for others, because I want to march to the beat of my own drum, and I get to do that. And I recommend everyone figuring out how they can do that and not allowing, not allowing anybody to tell you that you can't do it that way. When you know in your heart, in your body, that this is what is going to be helpful in this situation. So that's my spiel.
And a great one it was.
Thanks, babe.
Awesome. So a call to questions. Please access your questions. Again, even if you want us to go off on a topic, like I kind of went off on a topic today, like we can have a conversation. I know a lot of people have questions about us and our parenthood journey and my personal journey and what you go through as a cisgender person, in the community, and like, where do you fall? What letter are you? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I feel like these are all conversations that we want to have. Mm-hmm. And, we would love to know where y'all want us to go with them. So even if they're broader, like, can you tell us a story about type of thing? We can ask each other questions about specific topics. And so access questions, you can drop them in the Google form, which is in the description box. You can email us at gluedtogetherpodcast@gmail.com. You can leave them in the comment section. Thank you to everybody who is subscribed, who likes. I love to see all of the comments as well. So thank you so much. We really appreciate all of the love and support we're getting.
Yes.
Cannot believe we're up to episode 10.
10. Cheers.
Cheers. We are doing it, girl. Like, very exciting. And, regardless of what day it is, happy fall.
Yes.
I feel like a lot of people love fall. It's a great season.
Cheers to autumn. I love calling it autumn. I've always loved autumn for some reason.
Fancy. Because you're fancy. You're a fancy girl. You've got high class taste.
Yes. Check out Bulletproof Coffee with the link below.
We will Dowling something to get whatever. Is it a percentage off or something?
Yes, it's definitely something.
It's something. We will learn.
It's something delicious.
Something delicious and delightful. All right, y'all. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.